Hi guys, it's Sherry. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. Y'all, let's do some super cute, super practical, and super easy paper crafting. Stay tuned. Before we jump into today's project, I really want to thank all of you for the awesome support that you showed me yesterday with your comments, your expressions of love, your expressions of kindness. And really, from the bottom of my heart, I am so thankful for all of the wonderful kindness, support, virtual hugs, all that you showed me yesterday. It was one of those days where I really needed it, and thank you so much for giving it. It's been a really rough few days. That video was really hard for me to make. However, you guys helped to make me feel so much better. So today I'm going to put all of that behind me, and we are going to do some super fabulous crafting. And here is what we're going to be making today. I am sure you guys remember the mini version of this. Wonderful. I absolutely love it. However, we do have some larger notepads, which means that we do have a need for a larger notepad holder. And that's exactly what we're making today. So this one is made along the same lines as the other one, the smaller one. So we have a side pocket here for the larger notepad. We have our larger notepad in the middle. We have a pocket on this side. And then of course, we're going to use some beautiful papers to make it. So that is what we're going to be making today. And y'all know what time it is? It is time for us to get started. All right, guys, so to make today's project, we are going to be using some chipboard pieces. And if you don't have chipboard, please use whatever it is you have that you think you can make work for this project. So if you have some cereal boxes or material that's made like cereal boxes, double up on it to get your lightweight chipboard or triple it to get some medium weight chipboard. So here are the pieces we're going to need. We're going to need 2 pieces that measure 1 by 8 1/8. We're going to need 1 piece that measures 7 7/8 by 3 3/4. 1 piece that measures 4 by 8 1/8. And 2 pieces that measure 8 1/8 by 5 1/8. And the paper that I'm using for today's project is from Xyron, and it is the Wandering Ivy collection, and this paper is called Blue Fields, and I'll hold it up so that you can get that SKU if you want to look for this paper. And while I have this paper out, I have to thank my sister because she brought me this awesome paper along with the paper that I used on the original larger holder. She brought me a whole stack of beautiful papers, and I absolutely love the blues in this. So this is what we're crafting with today. So I have a piece that measures 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. Then I have a piece that measures 9 5/8 by 4 1/2. Then I have my liner piece, which is just gray polka dotted paper that I am using because we have some very muted grays in the background, so I thought I'd play off of that. I have 1 piece that measures 12 by 7 3/4 and 1 piece that measures 7 by 7 3/4. Then I have 2 pieces of that beautiful, beautiful blue floral paper, and this measures 10 by 10. All right, y'all, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to join our 2 pieces of 10 by 10 together. So I am going to use my 1/2" tape, and I'm going to place that tape on 1 piece only. And then I'll trim it away. And I'll remove that tape backer. And now I can take these 2 pieces and I am going to join them together. So I am simply going to take this piece, place it on top of the tape, and then I will place it down. And now I have my working canvas, and we can begin to lay down our chipboard pieces. Now, I have already removed the tape from the back of the chipboard pieces that we need to use on this part of the project. So you're going to need your piece that measures 4 by 8 1/8, the 2 pieces that measure 8 1/8 by 5 1/8, and the 2 pieces that measure 1 by 8 1/8. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take one of my 8 1/8 by 5 1/8 inch pieces, and I am going to place that down so that it pretty much falls over that spine piece where I join the 2 pieces together. And then I can take one of my 1 by 8 1/8 inch strips. I'm going to place that down giving myself about 1/8 of an inch in spacing. Then I'm going to rotate it because it's just easier for me to work from the right hand side for some reason. I am going to take my second piece that measures 1 by 8 1/8 and place it down using about 1/8 of an inch in spacing. And then I'll take the piece that measures 8 1/8 by 5 1/8 and I'll place it down on either side. Now, this is the piece, if you wanted to place a magnet, this is the piece on which you would place the magnet. But I've gotten so many comments that there is such a difficulty with magnet placing that I am going to place my magnet on the outside. Having your magnet on the outside does not detract from your project at all because we're using small, slim magnets, so it really does just blend right in. So if you can't get your magnet underneath and inside of the paper, please don't stress over that because you do have options to place that magnet on the outside. So we're going to take this piece, place it down, then I'll rotate it, and I'm going to take my piece that measures 4 by 8 1/8 and place it down. Then I'm going to flip this over and just use my big old spatula just to make sure everything is nice and stuck. And even though we haven't done anything to this project, don't you love this paper? It is so gorgeous. And so now I'll take my stylus. And what I'm doing with the stylus is I'm taking it, pressing it into the chipboard, and then driving it down into the paper to create a score. And I'm doing that so that if my paper has a tendency to crack, which I haven't found this paper to do, that will actually help minimize some of the cracking. It might not eliminate it, but it might help to minimize the severity of it. So I am just going along, especially where I join the two pieces, and just giving myself a good score so that when I start to fold it, the paper is already somewhat conditioned to want to fold over. So I am going to take my finger blade and we're going to miter this end. And mitering is coming in at an angle and making sure that you have a little bit of material, about 1/8 of an inch, between the chipboard and the paper. So we'll do this on all 4 sides. So once we have our mitering done, I am going to use some tape. And I'll take my tape and I am just going to place tape along my edges here. You can glue this down. You could actually glue these ends down with a good quality snail tape runner. And I am just going to go all the way around. And so now I'll peel away my tape backer. And we'll start folding over. I'm going to start with this end, and then I'll do this end, and then I'll do my long sides. So I am basically just bringing those up, and we'll bring them over, but I want to make sure that I have tape coverage on my edges here. So I am just going to add a little bit of tape, and now I can peel away that tape. And we can go ahead and get our jacket made. So I'm just going to take this and very gently fold it over where I have that center joint, and then I'll just press it down outward. I'm going to flip it over, do the same thing. So I'm pinching where I made that fold. Then I'm just going to bring it across, over, and down. And so now I can use my big old spatula just to get everything stuck. So our next step is to take some tape, and we're going to take that tape and place it down to cover the chipboard. Now when I'm placing my tape, you can see that I came in a little bit from both ends to place that tape. I am not going all the way to the edge. And so I'll do the same thing with my second strip. I'll go to the top, place tape there, place tape here. Guys, I would not use glue to cover this much chipboard because you might actually get some warping in your project, so stick with the tape when you're doing larger pieces like this. So now that we have our tape on this piece, let's just move it out of the way for a moment, and we're going to go ahead and place tape around the liner piece. And our liner piece is the 12 by 7 3/4 inch piece and the 7 by 7 3/4 inch piece. So what I'm going to do is I am placing my tape on all 4 edges of my 12-inch piece, and that's where we'll start. We're going to place this piece down first, and then we'll know how much tape we actually need to put on the 7 by 7 3/4 inch piece. All right, so as you can see, I placed my tape going around the edges on this 12 by 7 3/4 inch piece. I'm going to go ahead and peel away the backer, and then I'll bring my jacket back in, and I'm going to go ahead and remove my tape backers. And so then when you place it down, it really doesn't matter which end you start, but I am going to stand up to place this because I want to make sure that I get decent placement. So I am going to take it, when I place it down, I want to have about 1/4 inch on one side. It isn't always going to be straight, but that's okay. And then I'm going to bring in my 7 by 7 3/4 inch piece, and now I'll do just a fake placement to figure out how much of this side I actually need to cover with tape. So I am going to take my tape, and when I place my tape down, but I will place tape around all 4 sides of this 7 by 7 3/4 inch piece. So when I take this piece, I now have tape on all 4 sides, but when I take it and position it to see exactly where I'm going to place it, you can see that I'll overlap right here, but I don't have any tape coverage right there. So I do need to add at least 3 strips of tape so that this will lay flat on this piece. So I am just going to place down some tape, and because I'm using my narrow tape, I'm going to place down 3 strips. If you're using a wider tape, then of course you don't have to do that. So now in looking at this, you can see where I have my tape placed. Now I can peel away all of these backer sheets, and I'm going to bring my project piece back in. I'll take this piece, making sure that I have that extra tape facing in this direction. And then I'm just going to try to match it. And as y'all know, I won't be exact, but I'll be close enough and I won't let it stress me. So now I have that piece down. I'll use my big old spatula just to come in, find where my spines are, and get those spines defined. So once you have your spines defined, you're going to have this beautiful folio that will hold your larger notepads. So we're going to take this and set it to the side. So now we need to bring in our scoreboard and the piece that measures 9 5/8 by 4 1/2. And what we're going to do is we're going to score at 3/8 of an inch and 3/4 inch on 3 sides. So that's 3/8 of an inch and 3/4 of an inch on 3 sides, 3/8 of an inch, and 3/4 of an inch on 3 sides. So we scored on both of our short sides and once on the long side. So then I'm going to take this piece and I am just going to fold and burnish all of my scores. And so once you have folded and burnished all of your scores, you are going to have 2 corner pieces that need to be removed. So go up to that second score mark, drag down, remove those corner pieces. So once those corner pieces are removed, you're going to have this fold flap here. We need to go up to the second score mark again, just to free up that tab so that we can put this together. Once you have your piece like this, you can bring in that piece that measures 7 7/8 by 3 3/4, and we're going to do a test fit. We want that piece to fall inside of our score marks, all of the score marks, so we don't want anything sticking up at the top, and we want to make sure that it's going to fit on the sides. So if you have anything sticking up, you'll need to trim away just a little bit, and if it doesn't sit inside of your score marks, then you need to trim away a little. And I am actually going to do that. So I'm going to flip this over, and I am going to trim away about 1/16 of an inch because it's a little bit tighter than I want it to be. So I'm just going to take off a little, but start with the piece that measures 7 7/8 by 3 3/4 and go through that little exercise that I just went through. So I'm going to take this, put it down again, and now I have a fit inside of my score marks that I'm okay with. So I am going to remove the tape from my chipboard piece, and I'm going to take this, and it's going to be hard for you guys to see what I'm doing, but I'm actually taking it, placing it inside of my score marks, and then I'll place it down. So now I'm going to take my glue, place my glue on my 2 skinny flaps, and then I will get them stuck just like this. And all we're doing is forming a pocket. Now you could cover the inside of yours. I didn't cover the inside of my piece, but you can certainly place a piece to cover it. So now I'm going to fold that in, and I'll take my glue, place my glue just like that, and we will close the bottom of the pocket. And so now that I have the bottom of my pocket closed, I'm actually going to bring in a piece that I was going to use just a little bit of as a topper, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just cut a piece out so that I can cover all of that in case I want to give it to someone. So I am going to cut this. This measures 7 7/8 by 3 3/4. So I'm going to cut it down to 7 3/4. I'm going to do a test fit just to make sure, and it does fit. Then I am going to trim away where that hole is. So the piece that I'm working with is 4 1/4 by 7 3/4. However, if you want to cover yours, because I am going to be bringing this over the front, and I want a much wider topper coming over the front. So if you want to add a piece to bring in, I would use a 5 by 7 3/4 inch piece. And then I would take that piece and I would score it at 1 1/4 so that my topper overhang on the front will be 1 1/4 inch, because I do want somewhat of a deep overhang. So hopefully I haven't confused you. Basically what I'm saying is if you want to cover your chipboard, that you're placing on the inside, do it in one piece. Make that piece 5 by 7 3/4. That way it'll fit down here, and then you can fold over on the front. So hopefully that made sense. So I am just going to take my tape, place some tape down, remove that tape, and then we'll place this piece down. So I'm going to take my piece, place it down where I have that fold, and then I'll just fold it over onto the inside. Mine isn't covering up the whole inside, but yours will, because you will cut your piece at 5 by 7 3/4. But I do have a beautiful front on this, so I am going to take my glue, place my glue on my 3 fold over pieces. And then we'll bring our jacket back in, and I'm going to place it down, and I'm going to place it as close to my score mark as possible. I'm going to fold in my sides because this is a near exact fit. So I'm making sure that I have everything folded in so that it is on the inside of the chipboard. So now I'm going to bring up this piece just to make sure that I have a good fit right there, and I do. So then I can use my bone folder to go in on the inside. I'm going to get my side stuck down first. And then I'll use my ruler because it's long and flat, and I'll go in to get that back stuck. And don't you think that that is pretty? So you want to make sure that when you place your sides, they are inside of that chipboard and not sticking out. So now I'm going to bring in my piece that measures 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, and I am going to take that piece and place it down right here. Now, if you want to angle yours, you can, and actually I think that is what I want to do. So what I'm going to do is just take my scissors and just angle just like that. You don't have to angle yours. I am just giving mine a slight angle, and then I'll place that right there. So I am going to take my glue, and I'm going to place some glue along the side and then along the bottom. We'll take this pocket, get it stuck, and how cute is that? So now we have our sweet little pocket here. We have this section here. I am going to bring in my petals and blooms because I want to do just a little bit of decorating. And I like this one that says, leave a little sparkle. So I am going to place that on white backer. And I'll use my scissors, and I'm just going to trim out and trim. And so now when I place that down, because I did back it with the white, gives it a nice little pop. So I am going to take my tape runner, add a little bit of tape. We'll take this piece, and you can place it wherever you want to put yours, but I'm going to put it right there. So now I'm going to bring in one of my 5 by 8 notepads. I am going to add some glue to the back. And I'm going to place that down right there on the inside. And I'm making sure that I don't have it on the spine. Then I'll lift. And now we have our notepad here. So I'll take my extra little notepad, place it in my pocket, We have the notepad here, we have a pocket here. And so now I'm going to add my magnets. So what I'm going to do is I'll be placing a magnet right here and then a magnet on top. Now I'm using my small magnets because I'm actually out of my larger magnets. So I am just going to take a little dot of glue, and these magnets that I'm using are 4 by 2 millimeters. I'm going to give that a chance to dry, and then I'll be able to go ahead and place down the second one. So while that is drying, some of you have asked, how do you place a pin loop in this project? So I am going to show you how you can place a pin loop in this project, and it'll work for the other projects as well. Now the pin that I'm using doesn't match my set here, but it'll do for the purposes of showing you how I'm going to make a pin loop. So what I've done is I have taken a piece that measures 1.5 inches wide, and this is about 3 inches long, and I am going to trim it, but I'm starting with that size. And all I'm doing is adding some glue so that I can create a little band. And it's very important because if you are going to place a pin, you need to make sure that if you place that pin, it is not too big and will not interfere with being able to close your folio. So what I mean is when you close it here and you close it here, you want to make sure that everything is still nice and square. You don't want to have it where that top is humped because your pin is too wide. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take this piece and I'm just going to curl it a little bit, because what I will be doing is I'm just going to take it and put it right there in that spine. So I am going to take just a little bit of glue, and I place this piece down. I'm pretty much placing it right at the edge of the spine. Make sure that gets nice and stuck because you do not want it coming up. Then I can take this piece and I want to keep it tight. So now I'm able to see how much I actually need to cut off, because when I push this in, I want to make sure that it's as tight as it can possibly be. So now I'll take my glue and I'm going to place my glue right there on that edge. I'm going to leave my pin in, and if you have a pin that is a little wider at the top and more narrow at the bottom, make sure that you place the loop on the narrow part. That way, as the pin is put in and it slides down, it'll get tighter and tighter because you'll have that wider part now coming down to the loop. So now I'll take this piece, and you can see what I mean. I don't have it at the top, which is the widest part of this pin. I have it at the bottom. So I'm basically creating my little loop, and then as I slide this down, it'll catch because it starts to get tighter. So that is how you can add a pin loop and a pin if you want to add one to your folio. So now I'm going to bring this over, add my magnet so that it catches the first one. Then I'll place some glue. I'm going to close that and just press down so that I can get that glue mark. And now I can take this and we can place it down in that glue. We're going to give this a chance to really, really dry. So then I'm going to take another sticker from my book. I'm going to place it down, giving it a little border. Then I'll use my scissors and we're going to trim out. And now we have that sweet little piece that we can put down. I am actually going to take that piece and place it right there because that will help to cover that magnet. So this time I'm going to place it down using my glue because I want a very strong stick on this. So let's take this piece and we're going to put it down. And so once that dries, we have a cute piece there and it hides our magnet. So I'm going to take that and set it off to the side, and I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap chipboard, and I'm also going to bring in some 3x4 cut-aparts because I want to add a cut-apart to my project. So I am just cutting this out. So now I'll take my cut-apart and I'm going to add some glue to the back. I'll take this piece, put it down on my chipboard. We'll get it nice and stuck. And then I'll just cut it out using my scissors. Then I'm going to take some scrap and cover the back. So again, I'll take my glue, place my glue on that small piece of chipboard, put that down and just kind of smoosh it around. This time I'll use my finger blade just to cut out this excess paper. And now we have a nice little front for our beautiful larger notepad folio. Then I can take this piece, place it down right there. But again, I think I'm going to place it at a slight angle. So I'll be placing my glue on this end. So I'll take my sweet little closure and I'm going to put it down just like that, because I love how that green looks on top of that blue, and I think it is just so stinking cute. So I am going to open this and show you guys exactly how it looks when it's finished. You can see that we have a notepad here, we have one here, we have a pocket here, and we added a pin loop for those that wanted to know how I would add a pin loop to a project like this. So I think this is just an adorable, upscale looking way to carry around what would be a standard notepad. We have taken that notepad and really put a dress on it. So I am going to bring in my first one so that you can see just how gorgeous these are. And so both of them, as you can see, are in beautiful shades of blue. This one has that green sprinkled throughout, but they are both gorgeous. And you guys know how I love blue. So of course, I love both of these. Open this one back up so that you can see just what we have. So guys, I hope that you have liked the larger notepad holders. And if you have, please hit the like button. If you are not a subscriber to my channel, I would love to have you join my wonderful online crafting family. And you guys, as always, please be safe, be kind, happy crafting, and we'll chat later. Bye.